guys! Someone requested a video of me doing my hair, by which I assume they mean dyeing my hair, because a video of me doing my hair most days would just be a really boring time-lapse video of watching it air dry. So, not exciting. You might notice that I'm not wearing any makeup, because I'm gonna get in the shower in like 10 to 20 minutes into this process, and it just seems like a stupid idea to wear makeup. So this is me, all natural, looking especially good a couple of days after my period. Alright, so we're going to start with a couple of gloves to get the bleach ready. If you know me or follow me on social media, you know that for the last 2-3 years, something like that, most of my hair was bright red. This black is new as of just a couple months ago. Less than that, actually. Not impressive. I have very thick hair, and especially before I buzzed this section, it would take 3 or 4 bottles of splat hair dye, each of which came with its own thing of bleach, which I mostly wasn't using because I was only bleaching my roots. So, for the foreseeable future, I will be using splat bleach on my hair whenever I need to bleach it, because honestly, what I'm about to mix together, this is easily twice as much bleach as I actually need. Snip that off. I'll find that later. Put the bottle cap on the bottle itself. Screw it on nice and tight. And shake to mix the dry and wet ingredients. And that's about as mixed as I feel like letting it get. Alright, so I'm pretty cavalier about this particular part. I've got, honestly, really stupidly hardy hair. Also, I've got a clog in this already. It's fine. I'm going to take a Q-tip and snip the end off of it. Push that crud on out. Ugh. Yeah, nice good blockage there. Alright, I'm trying this one last time with the cap actually properly fixed, and then I'm just pouring it on my head because I'm running out of patience and time. Yep, no, the cap just does not want to work with me today. Alright, that's fine. We'll go to plan, like, Z or whatever it is. Let's add cotton balls to the mix. But I have pretty hardy hair, so I'm not super worried about getting this on hair that I don't absolutely have to bleach. I mean, obviously I'd rather not. It's better for my hair to not do it. But I'm going to go over all of my hair with another color. And so if I bleach it out first, accidentally or otherwise, it's just not that big a deal. Finally gotten the cap to behave. There we go. So I can get this on a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier. As you can see, I'm putting it on pretty thick and heavy, not super concerned about my scalp here. You know, you're not technically supposed to get your scalp with bleach or hair dye, and that seems hard to me, so I don't ever bother. I know that's ridiculous, but there you are. And now, we wait. It's been about 10 minutes, and you can see it's pretty blonde. It's actually behind my ear, could use a little more time. So I'm going to give it another, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes, I think. And then I'm going to wash it out. Alright, so nice and blonde. It's a little bit of a yellow blonde, not as white a blonde as I ideally like to get. But it's more than blonde enough for my purposes. Now, that was almost scandalous. Now, I'm going to take a break and let everything dry naturally, give this stuff a little bit of time to recover, give my scalp a little bit of time to recover in case I irritated it, and tomorrow I will actually put color in my hair. Alright, time for day 2. My hair is nice and blonde. It's actually killing me a little bit to cover it up. I kind of am digging the whole Cruella de Vil white, blonde, black hair thing. But for branding reasons, I always do at least a little bit of red somewhere on me when I'm going out for burlesque and storytelling gigs, which I have coming up this weekend. So I am going to do some red. I have about a million things of splat red hair dye, because you can never get it quite all out on that first go, and so that's what I'm going to use. A bunch of half empty, better than half empty, almost empty bottles of Splat Luscious Raspberry. To try and keep this off my scalp, I'm going to use cotton ball. Throw away after this use. This is definitely the last of what's in there. Alright. And then I just sort of lightly take this across the hair. I'll almost certainly end up with some on my scalp. But hopefully not too much. That's what this method is meant to help me avoid. You can see this is sort of a tedious process. It smells really good. I don't know if that's like a conditioned response to having used it for so long on so much of my head. I do really love the way this stuff smells. And you can see I'm being a lot more careful, not just in terms of avoiding my scalp, but also in terms of how I get it, how close I get it to the edges of where the length is, because I'm gonna put the black dye on while this is still in my hair, so it all needs to sort of work together neatly. Alright, so I've got pretty decent coverage there. One thing that I always make sure I do is fold my ear over and make sure that I've gotten this section right here, because otherwise I always miss this like triangle of blonde. As you can see, I definitely got some on my scalp. It's kind of unavoidable. I'm going to take a second and use the mirror on my wall and this handy dandy hand mirror and just take a quick look. Yeah, like I can now see that I'm missing a decent chunk of that back edge. Oh yeah, that's much better. Much better. And now, having done all that, I'm going to take a quick comb and just run it through the peach fuzz, essentially, and make sure that I got every last strand. Just making sure I got everything. Careful not to catch the length of the hair. Alright, so the nice thing about splat hair dye is that you can leave it on your hair basically indefinitely. The longer you leave it in, the more vibrant a color you get. That's probably not true past a certain point, but I usually leave it in for an hour, sometimes longer than that, depending on how much time I have. So, I'm going to go do something else for a while. Alright, final phase, or, well, semi-final phase, I still have to wash it all out. This is the cheapest black hair dye that exists, as far as I can tell. And there are people that I know and like and respect, who would chide me very severely for using box dye. But it's cheap. My hair is hardy. It's never been an issue for me. So the haters can go right on hating. Let's see what I got here. I have a really shitty conditioner that I probably won't use. Instructions that I also won't use. Ooh, and really terrible gloves that I definitely will not use. And I'm gonna unscrew this. This, once again, being cheaply made, you have to cut the tip off in order to get an actual hole. I'm gonna need that in a minute. So we start pour the dye together. I'm sure all of you have dyed your hair before. It's not that exciting or difficult or complicated to do this. I haven't had my natural hair color since I was like 17, which was, you know, like 16 years ago. Well, I'm old, guys. Anyway, just like with the bleach, Screw the lid back on nice and tight. Shucka, shucka, shucka. Then I'm going to plant this mess on the top of my head. This going loose down there. Give this one last shake. I'm not using any mirrors here, I'm just doing this by feel. Got the roots back in there, that's pretty good. I'm going to make sure I get this stuff up here. So I'm just going to let down another chunk of hair. And put what's left back on top. I have sort of stupidly thick hair, which I don't say to brag because it's actually a pain in the ass sometimes. But that's why I have to do this in like 3 different layers, even though half my head is shaved. So again, just kind of doing this by feel. Trying to get right up to where I've gathered the hair. Trying to make sure I don't miss any roots anywhere, including back here behind my ear. And then I'm going to let down this last chunk, and that's actually a huge section of my scalp because it's all of this stuff on top. And that's what I'm doing next, is getting the rest of the scalp. Just, again, mostly going by feel more than anything else. And now I'm going to get down into the nitty-gritty of where the 2 colors meet. That's where things potentially get a little bit messy. You can see I'm not actually super careful about this. Like, probably, certainly a professional would do a much neater job and have cool gizmos. But what I've found is that you don't really need those things. People just don't look that closely at your hair. And so while, yes, I will almost certainly look at this later and go, oh, I missed that spot, or oh geez, I got some black in the red, or vice versa. On average, the only other person who's ever going to notice that is my actual hairdresser. Trying to get all this nonsense back in there. Again, doing this mostly by feel. The red dye is so stiff right now that I can tell immediately when I accidentally brush into it with my hand. So I just try and avoid that and keep things clean. Alright, and then of course I want to make sure my hairline, just like the line between the colors, I want to make sure my hairline has got lots of coverage. I don't want to go walking around with an undyed spot right at the front of my face, right? Like, that would look pretty silly. And you'd be right to mock me for it. Also want to make sure you get this section back here, that like weird fuzz, that's sort of neck hair and sort of hair, and you don't really know which it is. I'd rather have to clean up a little bit of my skin afterwards than realize I didn't actually get all the hair I wanted to get. So now it's just about going through it with a mirror, making sure that I got all of my roots. I will also drag this through the length of my hair, even though it's the same black that I dyed it before, and so I'll just sort of re-up in case there's any fading or anything. Also, I need a haircut. That's totally unrelated to anything, but I do. My hair is very long, and I should go see my aforementioned stylist to get it trimmed. Alright, so I've got as much hair dye in my hair as I think I can reasonably get. I'm running a wide tooth comb through it just to try to get out some of the tangles before we end up even thinking about setting a timer for showering. Mentioned a couple times now without specifically talking about it, I do shower to wash my dye out. You obviously don't have to, but my hair is long enough that hanging my head over the bathtub is just gonna end with my hair getting caught in the drain, and then it's tangled, and then it's things, and it's just a pain in the ass, and so I just find it easier to just get in the shower. The other benefit of combing is that it of course helps make sure you've worked the dye all the way through. Less effective with a wide tooth comb like this, but still better than not doing it at all. You can see how much trouble I'm having getting this through the thickness of my hair while it's covered in dye, so I'm not even going to attempt a thin comb. Alright, that's about as brushed or combed as it's going to get. So now it's time to pull it up So I'm out of the shower, my roots are all done, my hair is red, but as you can see, there's definitely some stuff that needs to be cleaned up. So how I'm going to do that is once again with a handy dandy cotton ball and rubbing alcohol. But basically, you just start by rubbing at the area of skin that has dye that you don't want it to have. I'm not sure how much you can see, but that's definitely getting some color up. I'll do the same thing over here on my red spots. But you can also see there's still, that black spot I was working on is still definitely there. Same thing with the red spot. I'm definitely getting some up, but you can still see the spots, which is why I tend to come back to this several times. But this is the method I use to clean up all those weird spots on the scalp. So that's my video on how I dye my hair. And I hope it was informative and helpful for anyone who needed that information or that sort of help.